Nothing's more annoying than slow growing spring crops and a summer heat that comes late into spring that kills any sort of use of your spring crops. But today we'll talk about at least one good thing that you can make of it. All right, let's take a look at the loveliness that didn't come to fruition for the spring crops. Cabbage looks like nothing like cabbage, mostly dead, somewhat at least growing, but certainly nothing looking like a cabbage. Broccoli at least looks good, at least looks like a plant, but you don't see many heads associated with it. Even the specific early varieties that I have really don't have much head growth to it. And this is annoying because I do not have space for anything else, and I need something to go here in the next week or so, which means I have to do something to it. So we'll talk about something that you can take advantage of this. Something like broccoli you really can't do anything about. So let's go up to the spring garden to show a little more of that. So I won't get any probably broccoli this year because peppers need to go there, and peppers are smaller than the broccolis, and so I have to remove them. But what you can take advantage of is lettuce being a cover crop. So although the spring crop needs to leave, sometimes you can leave it in there for the interim, as the summer crops can be planted in there. So broccoli is a taller plant, lettuce is a lower plant, which means you can put small little seedlings such as a tomato that will grow above what would be considered now the cover crop. There's nothing wrong with the lettuce still can be used, or at least picked and eaten, but there's going to be a shorter time frame once the summer heat, especially with the romaine in the back. But right now it can serve as a cover crop. If you were to use broccoli with small little, this is larger, but smaller seedlings, or smaller things like tomatoes or certainly peppers, if you put them below the height of another plant, what they will do is just try like hell to get above that taller plant because they need the sunlight. So what they'll do is get really tall, but very leggy, not a very healthy plant. It will still grow, everything will be fine, but at this stage, when you're putting in seedlings, you want to have root growth here. You want to stabilize the roots into that will support a much larger plant down the line. So you can use lettuce in this case as cover crop. But the things you have to take into the note is the fact that you got to give it some space. So one, you got to pick, unfortunately, some heads out of there to give it some space, but also, and we'll do this tomorrow morning, you'll want to pick back more of the lettuce, because lettuce specifically, if you put water all into there, it will kind of keep it all into there. It will drip through on the bottom, but you can see this, I mean, it's all right. It's not really moist soil. It's wet enough that it'll be fine. They won't die, or the little seedling won't die from it. But the cover crop will cover the ground where rain won't readily make it into the soil. So if you are going to use this as a cover crop as summer crops are going, make sure you're giving space that the sun can hit it, as well as enough soil exposure that the water can also readily get into there. So it's not all negative with spring crops going slow. There is some benefit to them, this being one of them. So you can either pull them out, you can either just leave them in there, or you can have a large enough land to only dedicate spring with summer crops. Or in this case, you can just kind of get a mixture of both options, where you can utilize the ground for spring crops and summer crops and make use of it. So this is one way you can still make use of your spring crops.